Well, it's going to be a fun day. I can tell already talking to everybody. Today is August the 8th, a beautiful Tuesday, and we're going to be talking about the window menu in Photoshop, which some people don't even know it even exists, but it's been there for quite some time, like ever since the very beginning. So let's go ahead and get started and see what happens. And hopefully everybody can see my screen right now. You can see that I
Yep.
have let me close out my. Okay, why are you not closing? Go away. My Nick filters sometimes just don't want to go away. Um, Here's an image I shot. I called it mutton busting or kid busting question mark. Um, Shot at the rodeo a couple of weeks ago. A lot of fun. Um, so let's go ahead and we'll get started in Photoshop, see what happens. So we'll go to window. That's what we're going to talk about, right? And what we can do is the first one down is called arrange. And then from there, you can drop down and there's all kinds of stuff. And that's something a lot of people don't use hardly at all. But if you only have a couple of images, tile all vertically works really cool. Or if you have a whole bunch, I got 6 open right now, which are all the same. I'm going to tile all vertically and you can see that I have the zoom set. So let me unset that. Arrange. I have match zoom. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to click it off again. I want to get to that and talk about that. Okay, so with that is match zoom. I can zoom in a little bit on each one, and each one will zoom at the same time and be the same zoom, except for when I use the keyboard shortcut command 0, it brings the one on the left to full screen. Click the tab, get rid of all the tools, and then click command R to get rid of rulers. If I click now and make the one on the left bigger, all the others will get bigger at the same time, but they're not matching. So what you do is you go to Window, Arrange, down to Match All, and then they all match. So if I do one thing to any one of them, they all will do the same thing. If I raise one up, raise the other one up, they all don't follow with, but if I zoom in or out, then they will do that, except when I use command 0. Go back to Window, Arrange, I will consolidate all to tabs, and they're all back to the regular tab up there at the top. You can do the same thing with Arrange. You can do 3 up vertical, 3 up horizontal, or 3 up stacked. 3 up stacked, you see 2 stacked on the right and 1 on the left. And when I zoom in, let me make them all same size. If I zoom in on his face, you can see they all zoom in at the same time. So if you're working on multiple images and you want to be able to see what you're doing on all the images, this works out really cool. So go Arrange, Consolidate, we'll go Arrange. Let's do 4 up.
Right.
It'll take 4 and
Ask
bring
for
them up there.
those dates.
You have a question, Anthony?
No, go ahead.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so you can see you can get 4 of them up in a window. So if you're working on 4 different images, you can have them all up at the same time. You can go to Arrange down to Tile, and it just puts all 6. I have 6 images open right now. It's going to take all 6 and put them in a tile formation. I can pull that one out and it does absolutely nothing except have that one by itself. So go back to tile. You can do cascade, which is totally weird. I can't do cascade. If I can float all in windows, what that does, it takes them all and puts them in windows up on top up there. And now I can cascade. So there's one on top of the other. Which I don't know how people work like this, but there's some people that have windows open all over their screen. And it's like, how do you keep track of everything? I mean, it drives me crazy. Consolidate all the tabs. We have a question in the chat. Yep, I can't work like this either. It makes me crazy. There are people that like to have, let me close all these real quick. Command W, don't save. Command W, don't save. A lot of people like working with it floating in a window. And they have their screen behind them showing, which I don't remember how to get that to show. It makes me crazy because it just, they keep moving it around while they're working, and it drives me crazy when they do that. So I've always got mine set to tabs with the title up there. If I hit the tab key right now, my toolbar will come back, my layers panel, etc. comes back. Going down, the next one down is workspace. When it first starts, it starts off as essentials. Let me go to workspace, reset essentials. This is how it ships from Adobe with all the swatches and layers and channels and paths and gradients, patterns, swatches. I mean, it's got all that stuff up there. I don't use any of that. So I just close it all out, and I have my own workspace that I use. It's called Mike's. And I'm going to reset Mike's to where I started. And with mine, I like history, action, layers. I've got my text tools and my brushes on the right-hand side. Channels, I don't use. I don't know how it got in there. I don't use channels hardly at all. Paths, I don't use, so I'll click and get rid of it. Or what you can do is come up here to Window and go to, say, Info. That brings up my Info panel. Go up here, click Info. It should. It just puts it back into the stack again. But you can turn off like my actions and layers of history. So let's go to Window, and I'm going to turn off my layers. And that got rid of actions and history because they're all tied in together. So if things get jacked up, just go back in here again, hit layers, and it's back in again. So you can go use this window panel to open up whatever you want to use. Up at the top up here, I've got 3D. Has anybody clicked on 3D lately? When you do, you get this nice little message. Oh, it's going to work. I opened it this morning and it said 3D disabled in Photoshop from now on. So I don't know why it's saying it'll work now. but it is. So I can make a 3D from current selected layers. That's the only layer open. 3D postcard, create. Do I want to change the 3D workspace? It has its own little workspace and everything. And I don't know what the heck just happened to that. I haven't worked in 3D for I don't know how long, because it's always been telling me you can't do that anymore. So I'll go back to Mike's, go to history, go up there, and I'm going to close 3D because I don't use it. Close. Goodbye. Close all those as well. Actions. I love using my actions. I have actions that I constantly use. In fact, I've given actions to people from this program on occasion. The one I use probably the most right now is I'll select this right here. I want to get rid of that. And all I do is push F3. And what it does, it expands by 3 pixels, goes up here, does a fill, content aware fill, does the fill, and deselects. So you can see I did all that just by pushing a button.
Have you noticed those actions disappear every so often when an update happens on Photoshop?
Yes. What happens is when you update Photoshop, it says, do you want to include your actions? There's a small window that pops up, which a lot of people just ignore and click go away. You need to keep that. Once you have your actions, though, you can go in and save your actions to their desktop or a secure location like a backup hard drive or two, so that you don't lose your actions. You don't lose the brushes you have. But it's so simple just to hit the F3 key and it does the content aware fill for me. My F2 key is set up so when I'm doing proofing, I can hit F2 and it will save to a folder that I choose, and then open up Bridge, open up the next image, hit it, crop it, hit F2, it saves it to that folder, and you just, like a cycle, you can just go through the images really quick, which is really cool. But yeah, I've noticed that sometimes your actions disappear, so make sure you do back them up. In the actions panel, you go to the drop down over here, and when you save actions, where's the save at? It's been a while since I've done it. Okay, I have to have the actions selected that I'm going to save. So we'll say, we'll click on Mike's, click on the drop down, click on Save Actions, and there's an action folder in Photoshop for saving your actions to. I might as well save them because they're not in there. Oh, it is in there right there. But you can also save it to your backup hard drives so that you have more than one copy. With Apple or a Mac product, if you put something on your desktop, it wants to put it in the cloud. And the bad thing about that, it fills up your cloud really fast, and you get a text every once in a while that says, give us 99 cents a month so you can have a bigger cloud. No, thank you. I don't need to. But you can go down here and just pick your, say, character styles, paragraph styles, all pop into one. Go away. Clone source. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, talked about cloning and different sources that you can use for cloning. Go away. You just come down here if you want to get into glyphs with your text tool. There are glyphs up here. Those are all black, but you can go in and pick different kind of glyphs in here with your fonts and go crazy. So that's something to play with. Close that. Goodbye. properties. I use properties a lot when I'm doing different things on my layers. If you got something selected and you want to do something different to it, you can go to your properties, you can go to crop, you can go to trim, rotate. If I crop that, it's going to crop just that little section right there that I had selected. Hit escape, Command D, go back to the zoom tool, close out properties. Some of the other things in here, you have application frame. This is the one that drives me crazy. If I get rid of my tools, and now I'm working on this image over here, whoops, and I have all these things on the right hand side, enough to make you crazy looking at them instead of concentrating on your picture. So you go to Window, Application Frame, click on that, and it makes it with the screen behind it, so all you see is the image and the gray or whatever you have set up for your preference on the background. At the bottom we have options. Any tool you're in, you got the option bar at the top. So let's say I'm in the zoom tool right now. Zoom all windows, I can undo that. So it's just zooming this window when I have multiple open. Scrubby zoom. This is one I never really enjoyed. If I click on scrubby zoom and I zoom in and out, dragging it, it will zoom the whole picture. So I want to zoom in just on the boot. So I have to go over to the boot and try and get it to where it's centered. If I get rid of scrubby zoom, go to Command 0, and I want just the boot, I just draw a line around the boot, and now I have zoomed in on the boot. So that's what I like there. Tools, I could turn the toolbar on and off on the left-hand side. I really don't need the toolbar except for when I'm picking colors for my foreground and background colors, because everything on there is a keyboard shortcut. And once you get used to the keyboard shortcut, you can just go ahead and say, goodbye toolbar, gone. And the latest and greatest thing they have, contextual taskbar. Down here on the bottom, you have your taskbar. So let's click on reset position, drag it up. And a lot of times when you start it, it will always be at right underneath here, and you hit Command 0. Now it's in the middle of things. You got to move it around. You can either turn that critter off, or if you've gotten used to it and start using it, take advantage of it. But what you can do is reset the bar down at the bottom and then lock it, pin the bar. If you don't want that bar, just click on contextual taskbar, say goodbye. Just that easy. If you lose your taskbar and you love your taskbar, go down here, click on taskbar, and it's back. I mean, that's how much more simple can it get? And then also you can pick and choose the images that you have open at the time. So let's go ahead and go to image, duplicate, click OK, go down here. These are the two images I have open. So I can go between, let's take a brush, and we'll know there's a difference between that one and that one. Or you can go up to Window, Arrange, Tile all vertically. Now we have two of them. So you can go down here and do just about anything you need. Timeline, If you're working in video in Photoshop, you go to timeline, and it has a timeline down at the bottom, just like any video producing tool or program that you have. If you're using video down here, you need your timeline. You don't need your contextual toolbar down there. So we'll get rid of that and create a timeline. It's just super easy to play with. And I don't know why they put that in here, but version history, I guess it's version history for those. So any questions on the menu or the window menu coming down here?
Michael, I don't have a question, but I'd like you to go back to, go ahead and just make one image. Just have it so you have one image on your screen.
I can do that.
Okay, now if you go up to the arrange, and at the very bottom, somewhere there should be something, say, new window for that particular image. I think on your screen it's about third from the bottom.
Right?
Click that. And you should have two copies of that now. Now go back to arrange again. And maybe say two of them side by side.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's the same image, but you can do one thing. It's very handy, especially if you have two monitors. You can put one of those images on one monitor and you can zoom in on the other one. And as you're working on the one, you'll be able to see the full picture on the other one. So you can see what impact it's having on the full version.
So if I zoom into here and I take my, let's go ahead and use the new remove tool, which is missing. Apparently it updated and said, I don't want you in there. So let's go down to the bottom where remove tool is. Bring it over for now. Wow, that is amazing. It took out my remove tool. I can't believe it did that. So I'm going to take my remove tool, which is now there. Take this critter out, take this critter out, take this critter out. Click OK. And we wait and wait. And you can see that it did it on the side over here. So let's hit Tab, Command Z. And you can see as you're zoomed in, like Bruce is saying, what you can do your work over here, hit Enter, and it'll start taking things out.
Yep, it's a great tool. And again, especially if you have two monitors, you can drag one of the images, say the one that this full screen, onto the other monitor and just work on one monitor on the details. And it's very, very handy.
Yeah, if you're
what's happening.
This way, you don't have to zoom in and out on one image. You can actually see what you're doing there while you're zoomed in on this one.
Yep.
Very cool. Thank you for bringing that up, Bruce. I totally forgot about that. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Michael, the other day I asked you, just refresh, where do you change them from the beta back and forth on the beta so you can get some of those new features?
Okay, this feature that I just did, the remove tool, is in the actual Photoshop 2023.
Right, I got that.
I have beta open down here. So if I open it up, I can open up a file. I don't know what stretch back here. Oh, that one. Okay. I was playing with the new version of beta. What I want to do, I want to crop this. And so I'm just going to drag this down a little bit. And I'm going to, up at the top up here, I have generative expand. I have background, which is the old way to do it. Generative expand or content aware. I'm going to use generative expand to crop it that way. And it should take a couple seconds, but down here it should kind of blend in on the underneath the girl over here. I guess this is fairly new, the generative expand on the crop tool. And it did blend a little bit. There's a little bit of gooky right there we can fix, but let's go ahead and do the same thing at the top. Generative expand, click OK. This is easier because the background matches up a whole lot better. And da-da-da-da-da-da. It made it a little bit bigger at the top. And like others, you have your choice of which way you want to go with the expansions. In fact, that one makes it look a little bit better. I keep forgetting that there's 3 variations when you do a generative fill or a generative expand. When you start using the generate, there's 3 samples that you can work from. And I keep forgetting that you have that. And if you don't
Well-
like it, go ahead.
I'd say, Mike, so you expand at the bottom to give it a bigger, a longer back, at the bottom. It does it automatically now, it duplicates it and just, so you don't have to fill it in with content.
The beta version does fill it in for you. So let me get a different, get a different image. Well, let's get one of those we were working with just now. So let's go to August 8th. Cow person, right click, open with beta. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to expand downward. And let's go off to the right a little bit too, just for fun. And I'm going to use the generative expand up here at the very top. I could use content aware, which would probably do just about the same thing, or I can do generative. So let's go ahead and hang on, my zoom just got in the way. There we go. And then you wait. It does take a little bit of time to pull this off, but it does a marvelous job.
Wow.
You don't see a whole bunch of from the tools, brain fart, where it keeps repeating lines. Probably that one would be working the best. You don't see the repeating from clone stamping and clone tracks, I guess you call it. So
I wonder how this is going to affect us in competition. Because I bet you people are going to be using this, and we're not supposed to be using AI. Or this is a form of AI. So you go, okay, now what?
well, is it a form of AI to clone stamp or to use all the different like content aware fill is kind of sort of AI.
That is kind of AI. It
No,
is.
but you're using your own image to move stuff.
Yeah.
But isn't this doing the same thing? It's using your image to create that.
Exactly.
You know,
I'm just being the devil's advocate. You
I
know
don't
me.
blame you. Yeah. Because
Well, I'm taking that course tomorrow, the judging workshop, though. I'm sure it's gonna come up.
the PPC judging workshop,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that's going to have to be discussed a lot in the near future. What is and what is not AI for retouching? If I change the whole background, that's one thing. But just taking things out and making it better, is that using AI?
Well, it's
isn't
interesting
Photoshop totally AI?
Getting there.
well, if you notice on the new IPC on the rules, you have to upload, if you're uploading an image in the IPC for the competition, you have to upload a raw file.
What if you
Yeah,
don't
I
shoot?
noticed that, Dennis. I have a landscape image. I can't enter in landscape because I did a little cloning.
And
Well,
I gotta be, it's just between us and the wall here, but I have a little issue with, I wish I'd have a landscape where we could work or natural and a feather, because people work the crap out of portraits, but why can't we clone or do a little something in landscape? So I understand. I got some issues with that, but I have to live by the rules.
It is what it is. What if you don't shoot in RAW? What if you shoot in JPEG?
Or what if you shoot it on your cell phone?
Exactly. I mean, I have entered images off of my cell phone that have merited, and I know other people that have too.
So Dennis, you're saying that if you do some or a lot of Photoshop on a landscape, you get dinged for it?
No. This is for the IPC competition.
Oh, IPC.
You're not allowed to use cloning or in that kind of stuff on landscapes.
Oh,
Time to dig out that 4x5 view camera and some transparency film.
And how do you show your transparency film on the digital image you submit?
Show a picture of it on the light box, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's my original. Been there, done that.
Well, there's only probably a few of us that ever done that, but
Yeah,
it's going to be a challenge.
definitely is.